Welcome back. Thanks for joining us on the RP Experience. I'm your host, Andrew Regenhard, and today we have Keith Hilton, one of our preferred partners with Real Producers. Keith, I'm excited to have you on here. It's definitely going to be a relevant podcast, so we're pumped to have you on.
Hey, I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Super excited to be here with you.
There's been a lot going on, so ready to dive in everything insurance. So Keith is a preferred partner with One Group Insurance. Keith is a dedicated insurance professional who has mastered the Florida insurance market. His focus is to protect and educate his clients on how the insurance market works, and helping them make those informative decisions about their coverage. So that's why it's gonna be so relevant with what just happened to our area, and man, a lot of destruction, but man, so much of people coming together. You know, it's kind of been beautiful in that way. So really appreciate it. You guys and One Group have been a huge impact and helping a lot of people. So just can't thank you guys all enough. We've been doing supplies, different things, and you guys made amazing donations. So thank you guys.
It's our pleasure.
Well, awesome. So on that note, who are you, Keith?
So, I mean, you had some kind words to say. I appreciate that. It's not like I wrote them or anything.
If you did, they would be way better than this. No, just kidding.
So, yeah, I handle all things property and casualty. I help people.
No. We can't talk about that yet. Who are you, Keith? Like, give us who's this gentleman that actually gives me a run for my money with the beard?
I don't know about that. I'm working on it. So, first and foremost, I'm a father and a husband.
Nice.
I have two beautiful daughters, 2.5 and 1.5, and they keep us busy.
Yeah.
To say the least. And my wife and I, we've been married for 4 years now.
Nice.
Moved down to Florida back in 2019.
From where?
New York, Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
I would never go back except to visit.
Mm-hmm.
I miss my family and friends, but it starts and ends there.
Yeah. You grew up there?
Yeah. I grew up there, born and raised. It was fun to grow up. There's a lot of things to do, but just the lifestyle is not the same. Down here, I mean, we're on staycation.
Yeah.
We live in the most beautiful place in the world.
For sure.
I mean, I couldn't say it any better than that.
Yeah. You know, people come here for vacation and we go other places for vacation, then we can't wait to come home.
Literally, exact feeling.
We go there and we're like, even when you go to like other places like beach-like style, like places, warm, whatnot, you're like, still want to go back to Naples.
Yeah, that was the biggest transition. You know, we used to dread going home. You know, we came here to visit. That's when we fell in love with it here. We were going home, and I'm like, I don't like this feeling.
Yeah.
And now it's the exact opposite. I am ecstatic to go to my home.
Yeah, I love it.
It's cool.
How'd you get into insurance? Have you been doing it for 20, 30 years or what?
No. I was actually, my insurance career started here in Florida.
Okay.
I came down here. And
what did you do before?
Lots of things, but mainly I was actually an underground gas worker in New York City.
Yeah.
I did underground gas for Con Edison, running a jackhammer and breaking concrete and working with my hands. And before long, I realized my body's breaking down and I got to start using my mind.
Right. Use that noggin.
That's
it.
Your hands. That's it. And coming down here was a bit of a transition. I saw the pattern, and insurance is something that people are always going to need. You know, I like to help people. This is a stressful thing for a lot of people. A lot of times there's a time crunch, there's specific situational things that can dictate every transaction. And I like to help people feel more comfortable, at ease, teach them so they know for the future. And this kind of gives me that peace of mind that I'll always have work. I'll be able to help support my family, and I get to help people. So best of both worlds.
Get to pour into other people.
That's it.
I love it. How long have you been doing insurance now?
Now 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah, 3 years here in Florida. It's been a fun ride.
Yeah,
a lot of things have been changing in the market pretty much monthly.
For sure.
Yeah.
So tell us about One Group.
So One Group is actually based out of Syracuse. They are owned by Community Bank. We are owned by Community Bank. We offer so many different services. A big portion who's actually going to be in the office with me is our wealth management division. The company is all about clients and making sure their most valuable assets are protected while also increasing their portfolio. So it kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
And their support is unmatched. I mean, I put out a couple calls letting people know the situation here, and phone was ringing, donations were happening, and we were able to make an impact, and that means everything.
Yeah. Hey, actions speak louder than words, right?
Big time.
And
Big time.
they obviously came through on that. So, speaking of what happened, how were you with the storm?
Thank God we were okay.
Mm-hmm.
We lost power for about 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't fun, but compared to what some people went through, it was nothing. I mean,
exactly.
in all reality, we had to throw out the items in our fridge and freezer, and again, we were so lucky.
Yeah. If
truly.
you stay dry, most people were okay.
Yeah.
You know? So you're a little bit more inland then?
Yeah, I'm just north of Marco, off Collier.
Okay.
I'm right in Verona Walk.
Nice.
Yeah.
So stay dry. Good. So how many storms have you been through? I mean, were you down here in Irma then?
Just missed Irma.
Just missed Irma.
Yeah, just missed Irma.
So this was your first big one.
Yeah, we call it Superstorm Sandy in Long Island. That happened, forget the year, but that was pretty massive. I mean, my sister lost her whole home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was some devastation there, but Florida-wise, this is the first time I put up my shutters.
Yeah,
so I guess that was it. That was my
They work, huh?
initiation. They work pretty good.
They work as long as it's not a surge. Like I did hear that a lot. Like, oh, well, I had hurricane impact shutters and windows and but nothing is stopping a surge.
No, and that's the tough part. I mean, where we luck out is most of our homes here are concrete, so you will have to strip down the interior and gut it. But all in all, it's not like literally a total loss, which is a big difference, especially when it comes to insurance.
Yeah, for sure. All right. $1 million question. How has this storm affected you and your business right now?
I mean, it still hasn't even unfolded completely.
Right.
So we'll learn more as time goes on, but there are a lot of carriers. So we're appointed with over 50 carriers here, just about everybody we can write business with. There's only about 4 actively writing policies in Collier County right now.
All right.
I mean, Citizens is open back up, but self-proclaimed the insurer of last resort. If we don't have to put somebody with them, we don't want to for their own interest. And, it's better for everybody.
Right.
But right now, the market is definitely, it's restricted.
It's tight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for the listeners, we are just past 3 weeks right now. So, we are listening to this, it'll be a little bit later. So, things might have changed, things might open up. But as of now, things are pretty tight, right?
Yeah, and they were tight before this.
Right.
I mean, this could be a juggernaut. There's definitely going to be, there's going to have to be major reform to the insurance market. Back at the end of May, the House of Representatives passed that bill. They had that special session, and that was supposed to help kind of restrict all the fraud that's been happening after Irma. And that's kind of what's put this market in such a stranglehold to begin with.
Right.
And now we have this. We have Ian come through when we're still dealing with the effects of Irma.
We're only 3 years out. I mean, 3 years past Irma, right?
Yeah,
4 years? Four, I guess, now. 4 years.
Yeah.
And what is all the claims had to be in for 3 years. So you had 1 year to try to bounce back, and then this happens.
There's that. And then the other thing, just statistically, when you have a claim with insurance, go to litigation. Sorry, tapping the hands. Don't know what to do with them.
No, I don't care. We haven't heard it yet. Have you guys heard it?
So when an insurance claim goes to litigation, the average time for that claim to be resolved is 2 years. So even though Irma was 4 years ago, people were still able to file claims up to last September. And then the average time for those claims that got in, 2 years.
Wow. And
any act of God, if you will, hailstorms up North Florida, you have 3 years to file a claim for that. So the bill that they passed isn't retroactive. So all those claims in the system, we haven't even felt the effects from it yet.
And now it's 2 years, is that right?
So they've restricted a few things. They didn't, from as far as I know, you still have 3 years to file a claim. What they restricted is the assignment of benefit. So you used to have that full allotted time, 3 years, to just sign your claim over to your contractor, and then they can run with it. So you're assigning your claim essentially to a third-party person, most of the time a roofer, and then they have their in-house attorney run with the claim. So what the bill did is it restricted that. You have a certain amount of time that you can actually file with the assignment of benefit to give it to your contractor. Attorneys lost their multiples that they were earning when they were working on insurance litigation. And then the percentage of the roof that has to be damaged, there's actually a percentage now. Before, people's roofs that were far gone already were getting a free roof due to a storm. But in all actuality, that roof was already shot. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you have to be able to prove, due to that act of God, hail, hurricane, whatever you have to have 25% of damage on that roof or more before you're going to get a re-roof. You would just get a repair, which is going to help tremendously.
Yeah. Interesting. It's good, right? It's bad for some people that maybe it affected and they're going to be right below that crest or whatever, but it's good in general, right?
Yeah.
It's to help the fraud stuff. So we're good. What are the first steps? I know you probably got a million calls, right? Keith, oh my gosh, X, Y, and Z happened. What do I do? Right. So if someone called you right now and said, Keith, this just happened 2 days ago, 5 days ago, whatever, what are the first steps you tell someone?
Let's look at the policy and let's look at what caused the rest of the events to ensue, right? Mm-hmm. So claims are like dominoes. Whatever knocks down that first domino and causes the rest to fall, that's what that claim is going to be listed under. So for example, right before the storm, I have a client up in Venice. They had a small leak in their roof. About $3,500 worth of work. So for some people, it's a lot. I mean, $3,500 is $3,500 no matter how you slice it. Mm-hmm. So he asked me, is it worth making a claim? Right off the bat, I was with very little investigation. I told him no, because it's going to be a water damage claim. So knowing the market plays a big part in if it makes sense to have that claim filed. Right now, most carriers are using a water damage claim, whether it's on the property or the client in any other state. If it's happened within the last 3 to 5 years, you're almost ineligible with every single carrier out there. So for him, spend the $3,500 right now. He had it. It wasn't going to hurt him too bad. Spend the $3,500, fix the roof, don't have the water damage claim. Mm-hmm. Because if that carrier non-renews you, raises your rate 100%, which all of those things have happened year after year right now, mm-hmm. he's going to have one option, and that's going to be Citizens. They're one of the few carriers that will write someone with a prior water damage claim right now. Now, to clarify, though, just so you know, water damage claim doesn't mean, hey, the hurricane knocked a tree through my roof and now water's pouring in the house. That is a wind claim, a hurricane claim. Mm-hmm. Again, just think about the dominoes. What caused the rest of the damage to happen? If you had a pipe burst or a leak in the roof and it was just water getting in for a failure, it's going to be a water damage claim.
Right. Interesting. Okay. So a lot of the majority is going to be wind damage then for the majority of claims, like hurricane. But there's a lot of talks about this whole flooding versus surge versus can you explain that?
Yeah. So your homeowner's policy, if you have a single family home, it's an HO3 policy that does not cover flood, rising tidal waters, storm surge. That is excluded 100% on your homeowner's policy. So unless you have a separate policy, whether it's through FEMA, the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program, or a private market carrier, you might be on your own in those cases. And insurance is really nothing but risk mitigation, right? So when we're initially looking at it, we live in Florida. There are areas that are less likely to flood. But again, if this storm proved nothing else, it proves just about anywhere can flood. Mm-hmm. I mean, you see the videos from Fifth Ave, the fire department there, 3 feet of water. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's unreal. No one would think that would happen. So you have to look at the cost of the policy now and try to divide it. This is usually how I break it down. I look at the cost of the premium, divide it, let's call it $250,000 of coverage, right? That's the maximum amount you can have on your home through a FEMA policy. Mm-hmm. So if they have $250,000 of coverage and the policy cost $1,000, if you have one total loss in 25 years, you break even on the cost of your policy. Granted, without rate increases and things of that nature. But it's just a way to kind of reason it in your head. Is it worth me getting this, or can I afford to self-insure? Mm-hmm. Every situation's different. Mm-hmm. Every client's different. Every home is different, and their finances are different.
So explain to me the FEMA one versus private. Why would someone go with one or the other?
Really, at this point, it's rates. So private carriers, just about all of them, will meet the same statutes that your FEMA policy will meet. So if you have a loan on the home and you're required to have flood, the private market carriers that an independent agent like myself would put you with is going to meet all the criteria that the FEMA policy would, except there's some additional coverages. You can actually insure up to the dwelling limit, so you're not capped out at $250. And right now, the pricing for private has been far better in most scenarios. To backtrack, last October, FEMA changed their entire rating system. They went to something that they call risk rating 2.0. So a year ago, I could have told you if you wanted max coverages and you're in an X zone, which is the least likely zone to flood, it's going to cost you about $578 total for the year. Now that same policy
$578 for the year.
Yeah, that's the total. That would have been the total policy.
So
premium.
That's $50 a month.
Right. Right. And if you're paying for it through escrow or something like that, it's getting paid in full and you're just paying it back to your escrow account, in your mortgage payment. Now, the crazy thing is they put out a chart, FEMA put out a chart of how much they've lost over the last 100 years to justify this rating change. Now, that same policy, for instance, my home would have been, technically in an X zone, would have been $578. Now, that same exact home through FEMA is about $2,800.
Jeez.
So it's not so much the zone anymore, but how close each home is to a flood risk, a potential of a flood. So we have the drainage lakes, and we're about 4 miles from the coast. So all those things play a part into it now. It's not so cut and dry.
So obviously that's a huge increase for you and a lot of others. Do you anticipate now that, in your example, 2,800, it's going to go even more, or is that now preset? I don't know if it's constant changing like the market, or is now, since it's risk 2.0, like that's it's already set.
So their rates are going to incrementally go up every year like they always have.
Right.
But the only way to kind of combat that, right? So as far as I know, the base flood elevation, which is basically we go off of a benchmark that's in the street of my neighborhood, is 11 feet. Mm-hmm. So now to get money off of that, I would need to get an elevation certificate from a surveying company. They could run between $300 and $600. You get that survey. Now, if it shows that my home is any bit above that base flood elevation for my neighborhood, say my home sits at 11 and a half feet, that's going to reduce that premium. So that's going to be something that people are going to have to start to think about. And then the other option, so if I take my same policy, same coverages and deductibles, and bring it to the private market, that 2,800 is 1,700. So that's why the private market's been a better option. It's not always, but in some scenarios, it is. It's far better.
So, we've been talking a lot about what has happened currently, how to address, the issues. I used to sort of document everything, right? And then submit it, and you're going to go down that rabbit hole of, claims, different things like that. But let's talk about future. We all went through something. We're all looking ahead. We're all rebuilding. What's your advice to someone that now has maybe gone through it, or someone that got lucky and is like, man, I got lucky, but I really should, get more insurance or do whatever. And then also someone that's moving down here now saying, hey, I want to move down there. I know the hurricane just hit. Like, how do I protect myself from it? So some future homeowners, what's your thoughts there?
So for future homeowners, you asked a great question. And one of the things that I highly recommend is reviewing your inspections, not your home inspection, but your insurance inspections, 4-point inspection and wind mitigation, especially if the home's older, 20 or 30 years or older, you're going to be required to turn in a 4-point inspection. Mm-hmm. That goes over the 4 most common areas claims stem from: roof, plumbing, electric, and AC. So people ask me all the time, how do I bring down my premium? You bring down your premium by giving yourself more options. And you do that by keeping those 4 aspects on that inspection updated. ACs nowadays only last 10 to 15 years.
Right.
Start getting quotes when it gets older.
Yeah.
Electrical panels, 25 to 35 years, you need to get a new electrical panel.
Right.
These type of things are what carriers look at, because statistically, the most claims come from those 4 items. And then the wind mitigation is the biggest levels of discounting. It's how we explain to the carrier how fortified your home is in the event of a storm like we just had.
Yeah. Is it a fortress or not?
Exactly.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a fortress?
100%. How's the roof held down?
Yeah.
Do the openings have protection, whether it's shutters or impact-rated glass?
Yeah.
These are going to be the biggest levels of discounting. So I start from the top. I review both of those in depth, let them know what their price is now and what their eligibility looks like, not just now, but also for the future, and then specific updates on how they can lower that premium.
Awesome.
So that's a big thing for future homeowners. Know your inspections, know your home. It'll help for you for the long run with insurance.
Get the information. Prep work, right?
Yeah.
Love it.
One other thing I would give, and I know some people can't control when they close on a home.
Right.
Try to get your effective date outside of hurricane season. So after November 30th and before June 3rd, after November 30th and before June 1st. The reason why carriers restrict themselves on what new business they're going to take on during hurricane season. That's when they're the most vulnerable. So the less exposure they have, the less devastation they're going to take financially.
Right.
So they'll stop writing in zip codes. But insurance is like a pay-per-day contract. for you, not for the carrier. The carrier can't just pull out unless you do something to void your contract. But for you, you can switch at any time and get fully reimbursed for any unused premium. You keep your effective date outside of hurricane season, you get that high rate increase. You get the cancellation or the non-renewal. You're going to automatically give yourself more options on the market.
So even if I buy a house during hurricane season, you're saying then when off season comes around, re-quote and re-get a new one?
I tell every one of my clients, call me in December. Let's start the process. Let's look at it again. There's no guarantee, but statistically, every year I've been down here, the market opens up heavily outside of hurricane season. More carriers are going to lessen their age restriction on the home.
Right.
Certain carriers won't write a home unless it's built after 2017. There's other carriers that it has to be 1 year or newer.
Oh.
So those things change. Eligibility guidelines get sent out. I mean, it could be monthly.
Yeah.
So come December, we're going to start seeing more carriers throwing their hat back in the ring and certain carriers lessening their restrictions. So you're going to give yourself a lot less of a headache.
Yeah.
Long term.
Awesome. Keith, it's flying by already. So unfortunately, we are going to be wrapping it up here. But I know they're going to have a lot more questions, so I know they can reach out to you directly. Like you just said, reviews are free. Probably pretty busy right now with so much going on. But his information is in Real Producers, and you can find it online through our vendor section. But I want to thank you so much, Keith, to take some time out of your day, because I guarantee your phone probably rang 15 times while we're sitting here with more questions from people. So appreciate you spreading some wisdom and knowledge on everyone here on the podcast.
Hey, it's really been a pleasure. As always, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. As always, RP Experience is extremely thrilled to have you on here, and we're here at Venture X in the podcast studio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.